My friends, look at this. Allegedly, this is the most rare type of avocado, but not here in English lands because good baby soul. Here you can come across it anywhere, like this one, straight out of the neighbor's farm. But don't worry, I had talked to them before I get it. It's called the long neck avocado. It's extremely sweet. If you see one with black spots, that means that this one is raw and ungrafted. Good vibe soul. I hope you don't doubt that story because doubt is not a good thing. Like some guy here from the book of wisdom met Christ and was doubting. Let's hear the story. But he said to them, unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe it. A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, peace be with you. Then he said to Thomas, put your finger here, see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe. Thomas said to him, my Lord and my God. Then Jesus told him, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. Jesus did many other miraculous signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you, my friends, may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. Amen. Good vibe source. Let's talk with this wonderful creator and ask for their guidance without doubt through the video. Dear Lord Father, thank you for your love and goodness. Thank you for the videos that we have today. As we react to them together with your precious child, Father, may you guide us all through. May your presence be with us, Father. Forgive us all our sins, dear Lord. And this viewer, Father, may they be blessed abundantly through this video, Father. And may your goodness and love reach them from wherever they are watching. In your holy name, Jesus Christ, we pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Let's dive in, child of God.
Headdress of hat that the Pope wears is impacted by a god named Dagon. Dagon was a god of the Philistines, and Dagon comes from the word dag, which means fish. So now we see the Pope's headdress. On the top is the Pope's mitre. But when turned, you then see he's actually wearing a fish head, the fish god Dagon, because he's representing the worship of an ancient Phoenician god. So this is why today Christians on the back of their cars, you will see, have a fish symbol. That's to denote them as Christians worshiping Jesus. No, it's a fish symbol because it's denoting Dagon, the fish god.
Scientists just made one of the biggest discoveries ever and people are losing their minds. So you've probably heard of hydrogel before, which, if you used to play with Orbeez or anything like that, that's what it's made of. And there's many other things that it is used for. Now we all know the pain of getting a cut, or especially a bad injury or wound. What they do is they plaster it up, they bandage it up, and it's going to take quite a long time to heal, right? Depending on how bad the cut actually is, it can take anywhere from a month, 2 months, even up to a year if it's really, really bad. But scientists at the University of Bayreuth in Germany have just made one of the craziest discoveries ever, and I'm not joking when I say this is literally groundbreaking. What they've done is develop a hydrogel so advanced that it is paper thin, and somehow it mimics human skin. Yeah, in a number of ways such as flexibility and also taking on its healing capabilities. So this tiny thin sleeve that will be put on instead of like a bandage will now be able to heal wounds 90% in 4 hours and fully within a whole day, which is absolutely game changing for the world, and once this becomes mainstream when they've done more testing, it's insane.
Olive trees are as close to immortal as it's possible to be. This particular one here, 3,500 years old. This one is in Crete, which means that this tree was around well before Alexander the Great, well before the Parthenon. When Pythagoras was looking at his triangles, this tree was already 1,000 years old. There are a few reasons why the olive tree is quite so good at longevity. The first is that they are very, very, very slow growing, which means that they accumulate cellular damage really, really slowly. The second reason is that the oil of these trees isn't just good for humans, it's also really good for the trees. It has these antimicrobial, antifungal properties that really protect the tree itself. But the real secret to the immortality of the olive tree actually lies underground. Beneath the surface, there is this ancient root mother, effectively, that can continually send up new shoots, regardless of what is happening up top. It doesn't matter if the tree is burnt, if the tree is sort of axed down, if you have to shove rocks inside the tree just to keep it upright. The bit that you see up top is more like the latest iteration of a really ancient organism. So this tree here, hang on, this is the dead bit, and then look, these new shoots on the side. That one there. This one's only 1,000 years old though. Johnny come lately, that's what you are. New kid on the block.
So have a look at this image. Here is the vocal cords and here's the cervix. They almost look identical, right? That's because they are deeply connected. When a woman gives birth, she moans, she groans, and she roars. Her voice opens, and so does her womb. The baby is literally birthed through sound. And what's the first thing a newborn baby does? Cries, because the voice and the womb are one. This connection stays with us for life. And it explains why trauma and healing and self-expression are stored in these areas, this space, the throat and the womb. So what happens when a girl has her first menstrual cycle? I'm going to explain that in part 2. Keep watching and I'll keep sharing.
If you show a man a photograph of a woman who's dressed like a CEO and she's gorgeous, and you show a man a picture of a woman who's dressed like a Burger King service, person, and she's drop dead gorgeous, men are going to find her similarly attractive in both conditions. It doesn't matter. The woman could be doing, it doesn't matter what the woman is doing. And there's been research that shows this. They'll show men and women photographs of people in different types of outfits, and the men's ratings of how attractive the women are has just everything to do with how attractive the women are. For women rating men, it all depends on what they're wearing, right? Do they show cues to resource access? Do they not show cues to resource access? And women tend to modulate how physically attractive they find men based on whether or not they have these cues related to provisioning ability.
Men and women's brains are wired differently for attraction. For example, for men, it's hyper visual. Very visual and very instant. When a man sees a woman that he is attracted to visually, his dopamine spikes. It rises and it creates a desire in his mind being like, I want her. Men are more linear thinkers, okay? We're not thinking beyond lust at this moment, okay? The initial attraction is physical, okay? Emotion tends to follow later for men. Emotion later. Remember that, okay? Men are literally wired for pursuit, which means they have a hunter's mentality. When they see something that they want, that they like, they are wired to go get it. Their dopamine reward center in the brain makes chasing exciting. They like it, they need it, they want it. They literally want it, even if they don't know it, okay? Everything with a grain of salt here. If you're gonna get in the comment section and be my guy, I don't care. This is literally psychology, biology. Literally pick up any book. Google is free. The harder it is to get your attention, to get your affection, the more they want it. It's literally a fact. It's literally a fact. Versus us as women, this is how the fuck we're wired. While looks are still important to us, they're not as important to us as they are to men because we are wired differently. We are also looking for an emotional connection. We are looking at how this person shows up, the vibe that we have with them, how we feel, their personality. Are they funny? We kind of look at things as a whole, okay? We are not so linear the way men are, okay? Men are like this, women are like boom, 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 boom. This is because our prefrontal cortex is more active in this stage, okay? And actually, that makes us a little bit more selective. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. I would agree. I'm selective as fuck. I'm like, yeah, you're hot, but you're kind of dumb. Do you know what I mean? Our memory center is bigger than men, so we remember the small details. We remember how we felt. We remember what they said, how they acted. Okay? Very important. We subconsciously gather so much information in our gorgeous little subconscious brain. That's why oftentimes, like after a date, you'll be like, yeah, we had a good vibe, but, and you're like also analyzing all of the other things, okay? You're analyzing as a whole more often than not. Our female brain naturally gravitates and looks for feelings of safety and security, emotional availability, and also reliability, dependability, characteristics that give us a sense of feeling safe, of feeling comfortable, okay? Especially with men. When a man makes you feel secure, understood, or valued, you have a deeper attraction to that man. Why? Because he has activated the safetiness that you are looking for. Your brain is actively seeking that out. And lastly, this one is, I personally detest this one because it's so irritating and hard to unlearn, but we are attracted to potential. And it fucks us up. It literally does fuck us up. I cannot lie to you on that one. Us assessing a man's future is so important to us. He's going to have a good job. He's going to have a good income. We're going to live in a good house, all these things. But you have to remember that that is potential. And sometimes men do not grow into that potential. Okay. So you also have to rewire your brain a little bit and be like, well, what am I being shown right now? What is being given right now? What is being offered right now? Because you can't put your life on hold and wait for a potential outcome that might not happen. That is a huge risk. While his brain is like linear short term, you're already thinking long term. But sometimes I personally feel, this is an opinion coming in now, I personally feel that sometimes assessing the long term fucks you up entirely. So that's how we're different.
4 signs you might be what I call a lone wolf empath. Have you always felt different, like you don't quite fit in? You crave connection, yet too much socializing drains you. If this sounds familiar, you might be a lone wolf empath. Number 1, you prefer solitude over socializing. Large gatherings are draining, not energizing. You'd rather observe than be the center of attention. Number 2, you absorb people's energy like a sponge. You can instantly sense someone's mood, even before they speak. And being around certain people can be physically exhausting. Crowds, loud spaces, fake energy will have you turning the other way. Number 3, you have a small but deep inner circle. You don't have surface level friends. It's all or nothing. You'd rather have one deep convo than 100 surface level small talks. Number 4, you're extremely independent, but you crave understanding. You really don't like asking for help. You'd rather figure it out on your own. You do long for connection, but only with people who actually get you. People might think you're cold or distant, but in reality, you're selective.
You know how rich people will laugh slightly differently? Well, that's because laughter is more of a social signal than an actual expression of humor. Of course, people think laughter is a response to funny things, but observational studies have actually shown that people laugh way more in normal conversational settings where there is no joke. Instead, laughter serves as a vocal expression of our shared reality and to indicate vulnerability. Essentially, it's a performative act, which is also why you're 30 times more likely to laugh at something when you're around other people. Even babies start out not laughing that much and then noticeably increase their laughter as they observe other people doing it. During middle childhood especially, we'll also start to mimic the type of laughter that we hear from others. I mean, the theory is that laughter evolved to signal harmless intentions and then socially replicated for 3 main reasons: to reward the behavior of others, to ease social tensions, and to enforce social norms. Those last 2 points are really important because they show how laughter evolved to signal and maintain group affiliation. And if we look at studies of how rich people laugh, the research indicates that high status individuals will use more dominant, less inhibited laughter. This is likely a subconscious learned behavior which both signals that they're in the in-group to other upper class people and asserts dominance over lower class people. And the same is true of other types of laughter, like maybe you laugh similar to other people in your friend group because you're also on some level signaling in-group affiliation.
You want to hear a really bizarre coincidence? Back in early 1900s America, there were 3 very influential and wealthy businessmen who did not like the idea of a centralized banking system in the United States. Their names were Isidor Straus, Benjamin Guggenheim, and John Jacob Astor. Guess what else those three guys have in common? They took a little boat ride in 1912. Do you want to know something else that's kind of funny? That little boat ride they took, there was supposed to be somebody else on that boat too. One Mr. J.P. Morgan. But for some reason, Mr. Morgan never made it onto the boat. What a coinkydink. Gee, I wonder how that centralized banking system is affecting us right now.
Y'all, what I'm about to show you in the Bible is enough to make grandmama run. This right here was just too good for me not to share it. Now, I done read the story of Adam and Eve I don't know how many times, but I am willing to bet you have never been told what I'm about to teach you today. Now, I don't make promises I can't keep, but I promise you, this story is gonna blow your mind. So you know how the story goes. There's a man named Adam and a woman named Eve, and the woman is deceived by a serpent into eating some fruit in hopes of becoming everything that she already is. And she later offers that same fruit to the man. I'm sure you've heard that, but here's what you probably didn't hear. Let's take a look at Eve. When we examine her eating the fruit, I think we would both agree that she was deceived into doing it. But I cannot say the same thing about Adam, and here's why. Contrary to what you may have been told, Adam wasn't deceived. Adam was influenced. Now stick with me, because I'm about to say something and only 3 of y'all gonna catch it. What was Eve made from? Adam's rib. You still ain't got. See, you slow, but you worth waiting on. That's why I like you. Let me repeat this thing back to you to make sure that you I'm talking to. Eve was made from what? Adam's rib. So that makes her the flesh of his flesh and bone of his bone, right? Okay, now don't let this go over your head. But if Adam knew that God told him not to eat from this tree, but he decided to do it anyways because Eve offered it to him, that means the reason he disobeyed God was because he was being influenced by his flesh and not by the Spirit. Now watch this. So he denied the Lord to please his flesh, and that's what leads to sin. Now don't miss the message here, because I'm willing to go as far as saying sin wasn't the problem here. People pleasing was. Sin is just one of the symptoms you get from it. See, what people pleasing will do is it will get you into battles that the people that you're trying to please won't be there to help you fight. Now there's a whole nother part to this story that I didn't even bother today because I know you got stuff to do. But if you come back and see me around this time next week, I'll have something waiting on you. And I'll give you a hint. It has to do with the fig leaves. But you know I gotta leave you with something. And here it is. Do not lose what God has for you, running in behind a piece of flesh that's eventually gonna die. And I want you to ask yourself this question. Who are you willing to disappoint for the rest of your life in order to please God?
When a dumb guy hears that you're smart, they'll always try to test you. And the test is always the same, which is multiplying two numbers. For some reason, dumb guys really see this as like the pinnacle of intelligence. It's just multiplication. They love it. I wonder if that's just what they think is happening at like MIT. Just like a bunch of smart people in a room doing multiplication in their head. That's why Albert Einstein always looks so sad. Imagine trying to explain the theory of relativity and people keep stopping you like, wait, hold on. 287 times 485. And that was before calculators, so you know they had to just like take his word for it. That's also how you know that AI is going to take over the world, because those are the guys who you have to impress. The dumb guys who confuse intelligence with just sheer computational power. It's like, yeah, if you think technology is actually intelligent, then yeah, give it the nuclear codes. Who cares?
So I just got a memory about where fat goes when you actually lose weight, and since it's one of my favorite scientific facts, I'm going to share it with you because I also find that not a lot of people know, and you should know. That way you can impress people when you talk about weight loss. Right off the bat, I want to make sure that everyone knows that fat does not turn into muscle. That is not how it works in your body. You will not turn a fat cell into a muscle cell. That's just not how it works, so please don't listen to anyone who says that. Second, some of the better guesses are like sweat or you lose it in the bathroom, which like there are trace amounts there, but that's not the main way our body gets rid of fat when we use it while losing weight. And the funny thing is, if you are in a calorie deficit right now, you are expelling it as we speak. It's breathing. You lose it through your breath. I mean, I think that's pretty cool. And if you want to do more research on it, it's called cellular respiration. So please, I encourage everyone to look up things, especially if you're listening to somebody on social media. Do your own research. Like, love telling people to do that. Even if it's me, I make mistakes too, right? But yeah, cellular respiration. look it up. I mean, that's why there are things that can track how many calories you're burning by using a breathalyzer kind of thing, or why the term keto breath exists. It's just cool.
There's another one that actually escaped from captivity.
Yo.
But he actually convinced his interpreter or his interrogator to help him escape, because the program was trying to get him to open a portal for them, and they wanted control of it. And the guy, eventually, the interrogator actually pushed him into the portal and had surreptitiously given him back to his own home world. And it ended that guy's career, probably.
A portal?
Yeah.
And what kind of portal are we talking about?
You're talking like it's kind of like a way of opening a wormhole that you can control.
And did they say where this thing was accomplished and how?
I think it was also in reticuli. I think it was another being from the reticuli system.
Right, but the portal. Where's this portal? How is it accomplished?
The portal, I thought, I was trying to think. It sounded like it might have been on the Pacific Northwest or the West Coast area is where this was taking place.
And did they say how the portal was made? Was this made by them?
They had recovered parts of one, and they were trying to complete it, and they were trying to get this being to help them complete the portal, so that they could use it for their advantage.
Like a Stargate.
Yeah.
Like a real Stargate.
Correct. Yeah.
He convinced his interpreter that if he didn't get back, and if he didn't get home, really bad things were going to happen. And that guy just kind of felt like, hey, I got kids and whatever.
Right. I don't want society to destroy.
Right. Plus, he had some compassion for him.
Yeah.
Because he's been working with him for a while.
Yeah. So when he got the chance, he was just like, get him in there.
I can't remember all the things. I think they had to keep this entity tied to a chair or something, so he couldn't do anything, and that's why he needed the help of the guy that was the interpreter. He had to push him into the portal on the chair that he was tied to.
Yeah.
I want you to listen to me and listen to me carefully. Please. Okay? I'm a regular human like you. I was born here. Okay? Just want people to know that. Now, there's going to be news that's coming out soon. Big news, bigger than UFOs. Well, something about UFOs that is bigger than knowledge, anything from UFOs. They're going to come out and tell you that some humans are aliens. They came here so they could view the world through human eyes and human emotions and thought process. Believe me when I'm telling you this is going to come out in Congress. Please don't listen to anything else. Believe me, there are going to be many people who are going to try to cover that up so humans do not evolve and understand what's going on in the future. But I need you guys to understand this. Let's say you have a family of three kids. You gave birth to them. Normal, you don't know. Let's say one of those kids are, a little off. Doesn't talk too much, shy, quiet, but smart. You ask them one thing, they know. You know what I mean? Not when they're younger, because they're still observing. But when they get older, they start getting curious. Those are the kids you have to watch out for. The ones that are quiet, the ones that are critical thinkers. Now imagine you have 3 kids. One of them stands out. Okay, you gave birth to all of them. You found out when that kid, your 3rd kid, grows up. I don't know which one of the 3, but one of those kids is going to grow up. And they officially found out that they were part of this hybrid species. You're going to be like, what? My kid? Because you don't remember. Just remember, there are hybrids out there that looks just like you and I. Act like you and I. They don't even know it. Because they have to pass through life challenges first to understand the knowledge that they will receive. So they can stand out. So please keep that in mind when I'm telling you. They're going to expose this. But they're going to quickly cover it back up. This is my official warning about this.
I'm going to teach you something terrible. If you don't want to learn something terrible, you should swipe. What happens if you lose your head, but not all the way? What you are seeing here is an X-ray of something called internal decapitation. This condition is characterized by a separation of the skull from the first cervical vertebrae, also known as atlas, because it holds up the world. Obviously, the connection between your head and your neck is pretty important, so nature has given you plenty of bracing material to hold these two structures together. But things like accidents, trauma, or certain forms of punishment can cause them to separate. This injury is 2 to 3 times as likely in kids and is part of the reason for rear-facing car seats. As you would imagine, the prognosis for this is not great. The fatality rate is about 80%, and even if you do happen to recover, it's going to have long-term consequences. And those long-term deficits come from 2 different things. There's going to be the initial trauma to like the spinal cord and the brainstem, but there's also the fact that the repair looks something like this, and it leaves the person unable to turn their head, and eventually it is all just one big fused structure. If you haven't yet, please go follow me on YouTube because TikTok is still scheduled to be banned. Link in the bio. As always, thanks for learning with me, and if you got a question, you know what to do.
Okay, so now you're telling me that one of the things we're being told is that one of the reasons all the plane crashes have been happening is because Earth's North Pole, the same North Pole that's been there since I've been born, I've been alive, has now shifted and has made its way towards Siberia. And if that isn't interesting enough, Siberia, 13 different viruses have been dug up that's been under the ice for a very, very long time. But one of those in particularly is causing a little bit of concern within the scientific community because it's categorized as the zombie virus. Now, I don't know what in The Last of Us is happening around us, but that seems a little bit alarming. So yeah, what I've learned in the news today is that the reason the plane crashes are happening is because the North Pole has changed. Now, I don't know how Santa feels about that. I don't know how I feel about that. But have you heard this? Have you not heard this? Let's have this conversation today because I feel like there's a lot to be unearthed here. Unearthed. Pun intended. But drop it in the comments. And once again, anything we talk about is for education, learning, conversation, and entertainment purposes only. But I kind of want to know what you guys think about this.
If you have an overbite, watch this video. Or send it to a friend. Okay, a lot of people come into my office and they say, oh, I have this really bad overbite. And what they don't realize, it's actually overjet. So overjet is front to back, like there's space in between your top and bottom teeth there. And an overbite is when the top teeth are covering the bottom teeth vertically.
If you feel like you haven't made enough progress, let me ask you this. Would you trade places with you a year ago? No? Okay, well, progress made.
So why don't we just throw all our trash into a volcano, right? Incinerate it. Incinerate it naturally, you know? It's, 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit in there? That's as much as a hazardous waste incinerator, right? On paper, they seem like nature's perfect incinerator, but no, look what happens. You throw some organic waste in, lava bomb. It does not respond well. Here's the thing, when you burn stuff like plastic, it doesn't just disappear. You release toxic gases, a whole cocktail of toxic gases, and when you mix that with volcanic gases like sulfur dioxide, well, you have like a full-blown chemical weapons experiment there. So yeah, you throw anything in there and you're creating a flaming airborne garbage apocalypse. Also, I had this vision that you could just throw things into a lava lake, but no. Here's the thing. I was today years old when I learned that it's pretty rare for volcanoes to have lava lakes. Most volcanoes have sealed magma chambers underground. So there's not just like lava swooshing around on the top. When they erupt, they cool and harden after. Yeah, moral of the story is, volcanoes, yes, they seem like great natural incinerators, and the modern hazardous waste incinerators are just as hot, if not hotter, but they're also incinerating that waste efficiently. Who knows what volcanoes will do with it? Who knows what volcanoes will do with it?